The night Anakin Skywalker came home broken, Padme knew something was terribly wrong. His eyes were hollow, his hands wouldn't stop shaking, and when he finally spoke, the words he said changed everything. Anakin told her the truth. Palpatine, the man who had guided the Republic for decades, the man who had mentored Anakin since he was a boy, was a Sith Lord, Darth Sidious himself. Most people would have frozen. Most people would have begged Anakin to stay quiet and keep their heads down. But Padme Amidala was not most people. She had spent her entire life fighting for democracy. As Queen of Naboo at 14, she had stared down a Trade Federation invasion and won. As a senator, she had stood against wars, corruption, and emergency powers that no one else dared to question. She had watched Palpatine strip away freedoms one by one, always with a smile, always with a reason, and now she finally understood why. The fear that hit her wasn't small. She knew exactly what exposing Palpatine would mean. It meant going up against the most powerful man in the galaxy, a man with armies, allies, and dark side abilities she could barely imagine. It meant risking her career, her safety, and the two lives growing inside her. It meant trusting that the Republic she had believed in her whole life still had enough strength left to fight back. For one long moment, she sat in silence. Anakin watched her, desperate, afraid she'd break. She didn't break. "This ends," she said quietly. "Not just for us. For everyone." Anakin wanted to protect her. He wanted to beg her to walk away. But deep down, beneath the fear, beneath Palpatine's manipulation, beneath every dark whisper that had been slowly eating at him, he recognized something in her voice. It was the same fire that had once made him believe the galaxy was worth saving. Padme rose from her chair and moved to her desk. She had calls to make, evidence to find, and a speech to prepare that could either save the Republic or destroy them both. Padme didn't sleep that night. She sat at her desk on Coruscant, working through the dark hours, her mind running faster than her hands could keep up. She had one goal now: build a case so airtight, so undeniable, that the Senate could not look away. The first person she contacted was Bail Organa. She trusted him more than almost anyone. He had already been quietly watching Palpatine's power grab, with growing alarm the emergency decrees, the military expansion, the slow and steady erosion of Senate authority. When Padme told him everything she knew, there was a long silence on the other end of the line. "Are you absolutely certain?" Bail asked. "Yes," she said, "and I'm going to prove it." Bail didn't hesitate. He was in. Together, they started piecing things together. Padme pulled every Senate record she could find, every vote where Palpatine had quietly steered the outcome, every law that had handed him a little more control than before. Bail reached out to Mon Mothma, a senator from Chandrila who had already been building her own private file on the Chancellor's abuses. But records alone wouldn't be enough. Padme knew that. She needed something harder to deny, something the Senate could see and hear for themselves. So she turned to the Jedi. Through careful, coded communication, she reached Obi-Wan Kenobi, who had just returned from Utapau with suspicions of his own. When she told him Palpatine was Darth Sidious, Obi-Wan went very still. He had long suspected the Sith had infiltrated the highest levels of the Republic. He had never imagined they were sitting at the very top. He gave her access to Jedi intelligence files, surveillance data, intercepted communications, pattern analyses the Order had quietly collected but never acted on, too afraid of the political blowback. Now, the blowback was coming either way. Padme compiled everything. She rehearsed her words, checked every fact twice. She thought about her children, the two lives growing inside her, and reminded herself exactly what she was fighting for. 3 days later, she walked into the Senate building and requested the floor. The galaxy had no idea what was about to happen. The Senate rotunda had seen many historic moments. Treaties signed, wars declared, worlds lost and worlds saved. But nothing had prepared it for the moment Padme Amidala rose to the floor. The session had started like any other. Routine business, procedural votes, senators half listening from their floating platforms, while aides whispered in the background. Palpatine sat at the center of it all, calm as ever, composed, regal, and seemingly untouchable. Then Padme's platform rose. "Fellow senators," she began, her voice steady and clear, "I rise today not to debate policy. I rise because the Republic, the democracy we have all sworn to protect, is in the gravest danger it has ever faced." The chamber began to quiet. "The threat does not come from the Separatists. It does not come from General Grievous or Count Dooku." She let the silence stretch for just a moment. "It comes from this chamber, from the Chancellor's seat itself." A ripple of noise spread across the rotunda. Senators looked at each other. Some laughed nervously, some leaned forward. Palpatine's expression didn't change, but his eyes moved to her like a predator, locking onto prey. Padme pressed on. She presented the Senate records first, the manipulated votes, the manufactured crises, the steady expansion of executive power. She walked them through the evidence showing how the Clone Wars had been engineered from both sides by the same hand. Then she played the Jedi intelligence files, surveillance data, intercepted communications, and pattern analysis pointing unmistakably to one source. And then she said the words. "Supreme Chancellor Sheev Palpatine is Darth Sidious. He is the Dark Lord of the Sith, and he has been using this Republic, using all of us, to build himself an empire." The rotunda exploded. Senators shouted, platforms lurched, some demanded her immediate removal, others sat frozen in total shock. A handful, a small but crucial handful, began reading the evidence on their screens with trembling hands and wide, wide eyes. And at the center of it all, Palpatine slowly rose from his chair. He was smiling. For 30 seconds, the Senate rotunda was pure chaos. Shouting, accusations, disbelief, flying in every direction at once. Some senators called Padme a traitor. Others demanded answers. Security droids began moving toward her platform. Palpatine raised one hand and the room began to quiet. That calm was more frightening than the chaos had been. "Senator Amidala," he said, his voice smooth and almost gentle, "has clearly been under tremendous stress. This war has been difficult for all of us." He looked out at the chamber with practiced sorrow. "I understand her fear, but these claims are extraordinary, and they are false." Some senators exhaled with relief. They wanted to believe him. After years of trusting the Chancellor, the idea that he was a Sith Lord felt far easier to dismiss than to accept. But not everyone looked relieved. Bail Organa held his ground on his platform, jaw tight. Mon Mothma had her datapad out, already cross-referencing the files Padme had shared. And scattered across the chamber, a handful of other senators were staring at the evidence, really staring at it, with expressions that had shifted from doubt to something far more dangerous. Recognition. Palpatine saw it, and in that moment, his calculations changed. Within the hour, orders began moving through quiet channels. Senate Guard units repositioned. Coruscant security forces were placed on high alert. His closest political allies flooded comm lines with prepared denials and coordinated smear campaigns aimed directly at Padme's credibility. Somewhere deeper in the Senate building, a message reached a unit of waiting clone troopers. Not Order 66, not yet, but something very close to it, a standing alert, await further instruction. That evening, 2 members of Padme's staff were detained on fabricated charges. Her personal comm lines were flagged. A story began spreading that she was mentally unstable, grief-stricken, manipulated by Jedi extremists. Padme had expected all of this. She had planned for it. What she had not planned for was the knock at her apartment door that night. She opened it to find Anakin pale, shaking, and carrying a message she was not ready to hear. "Palpatine knows what you did, and he's already moving." Anakin Skywalker stood in the doorway, with fear written all over his face. Not fear for himself, fear for her. Padme pulled him inside, closed the door, and for a long moment, neither of them spoke. The tension between them was nearly unbearable, because this wasn't just about politics, or the Senate, or even the fate of the Republic. This was about what Palpatine had promised Anakin, a power over death that no Jedi could offer, a way to keep Padme alive, and now that promise hung in the air between them like a blade. "He told you he could save me," Padme said quietly. "Not a question." Anakin nodded. "And you believed him." "I was desperate," he said. "I couldn't lose you." The room stayed quiet for a long moment. Then Padme stepped closer and took both of his hands, the flesh one and the mechanical one, and held them. "Anakin, everything he told you was designed to make you afraid, to make you feel like he was the only answer." She looked directly at him. "You were never going to lose me to some vision. You were going to lose me to him, to what he was slowly turning you into." Something moved across Anakin's face. Pain, confusion, and something underneath both of those that looked terrifyingly close to relief. But the choice in front of him was still real and still brutal. Palpatine was cornered now. He would hit back hard. And if Anakin stood against him, any last hope of that promised power of cheating death itself would be gone forever. Padme watched him. She didn't push. She just waited. Slowly, Anakin closed his eyes. And when he opened them again, something had shifted. The shadows that had been slowly gathering in his expression for months, they hadn't vanished entirely. But for the first time in a long, long time, the light was still there too. "Tell me what you need me to do," he said. Down in the Senate building, Palpatine was done waiting. Palpatine had been patient for decades. He had worn the mask of the wise, weary Chancellor through wars, crises, and 1,000 Senate debates. He had smiled through betrayals. He had managed threats with quiet, invisible precision. But this was different. The evidence was already spreading across the HoloNet. Senate.com channels were lit up. 3 Outer Rim delegations had publicly called for an emergency inquiry. 2 of his most loyal political allies had gone suspiciously quiet, and worst of all, the Jedi were moving. He could feel it through the Force, a shift, a convergence. Masters, Windu, Kenobi, and Yoda, all of them mobilizing. The Order, slow and fractured as it had become, was finally pointing itself in one direction. At him. In his private chambers, the mask came off. Not metaphorically, literally. The careful posture, the rehearsed expressions, the decades of carefully performed humanity, all of it fell away. What stood in that room now was Darth Sidious, cold, ancient, furious. He activated a hidden comm, spoke 3 words to a clone commander on standby: "Initiate the protocol." Then he stepped out into the open halls of the Senate building and he ignited the darkness. The first security officers who moved to apprehend him were hurled across the corridor by an invisible force. Blue-white lightning crackled from his fingertips and lit up the marble walls. Senators who had lingered in the building fled screaming into the corridors. There was no more pretending, no more managing perceptions. He moved through the building like a man who had been waiting his entire life for this exact moment because he had. Every careful plan, every manufactured crisis, every gentle, patient manipulation had been building to this. If the Republic wouldn't hand itself to him willingly, he would simply take it. On a live feed playing above the Senate floor, the galaxy watched. Senators saw the lightning, saw the bodies, saw the face of the man they had trusted for so long. Finally, undeniably, completely revealed. And across Coruscant, cutting through the night sky in a speeder, Anakin Skywalker saw it too. His jaw tightened. His eyes hardened. He hit the throttle. The Jedi arrived at the Senate building in 3 coordinated groups, fast, focused, and carrying something they hadn't brought into battle in a long time: certainty. Masters Windu, Fisto, Kolar, and Tian pushed through the main entrance with lightsabers ready. Obi-Wan moved through a secondary corridor with a team of knights behind him. And Yoda, quiet, focused, moving with that slow and deceptive calm that always came right before something extraordinary made straight for the Chancellor's last known position. The fight was brutal from the very first second. Palpatine didn't run. He didn't retreat. He met the Jedi Masters in the corridor outside the Chancellor's suite and attacked with everything he had: Force lightning, telekinesis, raw Sith ferocity with no restraint and no strategy. Just destruction. 3 of the 4 masters who engaged him first did not survive the opening moments. Mace Windu fought longer, fought harder, but without the one variable that had made all the difference in another timeline. Without Anakin at his side, the outcome balanced on a knife's edge. Palpatine drove him back, step by step, toward the shattered window at the far end of the room. Then the glass exploded inward. Anakin Skywalker landed on the floor of the Chancellor's suite with the controlled weight of a man who had made his decision and was not looking back. Palpatine froze for exactly 1 second, surprise breaking clean through the fury on his face. This was not the broken, desperate boy he had spent years shaping. This was a Jedi Knight who had chosen. "It's over," Anakin said. What followed was unlike anything Coruscant had ever seen. 2 of the most powerful Force users alive, the master who had built the darkness, and the student who had nearly been consumed by it. Anakin fought without anger. That was the difference. He fought with clarity, with grief, and with the fierce and quiet love of a man defending everything that still mattered to him. When it ended, when Mace Windu and Anakin together finally brought Palpatine down, the Senate building went completely silent. Outside, the sun was beginning to rise over Coruscant. And somewhere inside the building, Padme Amidala was already waiting. The trial of Sheev Palpatine lasted 6 weeks. It was the most watched event in the history of the Galactic Republic. Senators from thousands of worlds tuned in as the full evidence was laid bare. The manufactured war, the engineered crises, the decades of Sith manipulation hidden in plain sight, inside the very building meant to protect democracy. He was convicted on every charge. The Clone Wars ended within a month of his capture. With the Separatist leadership gone and their secret Sith puppet behind bars, the conflict collapsed under its own weight. Clone troopers stood down. Battle droids powered off on 100 worlds. The silence that followed felt almost impossible, like a breath the galaxy had been holding for far too long, finally released. It wasn't a perfect peace. It never is. Reconstruction would take years. The damage to democratic institutions ran deep. The Senate had to reckon honestly with how much power it had quietly handed away vote by vote, crisis by crisis, without ever stopping to ask the right questions. But the Empire never rose, and in this alternate timeline, that was the thing that mattered most. Anakin Skywalker faced his own reckoning, not from the Jedi Council, but from himself. He had come closer to the darkness than anyone outside that apartment would ever know. The Council offered him no punishment, only a choice: come back to the Order or find another path forward. He chose to come back. Padme had something to do with that. She stood before the Senate one final time after the trial, quieter now, and somehow older, in a way that had nothing to do with age. She spoke about what democracy truly requires, not just laws, not just votes, but courage. The willingness of an ordinary person to stand up and say the truth out loud even when the cost feels impossible to pay. The Senate gave her a standing ovation. She sat down and felt, for the first time in years, something close to real hope. History would remember this simply. A senator from Naboo had walked into a chamber full of fear and power and refused to stay silent. Sometimes, that is enough to change everything.